2022 is quickly coming to a close, and to be honest, it's been a great year for us at Make Pop Music, and a lot of that is because of all of the love and support we've gotten from you guys, our audience. And so for this video, I wanted to do something where we kind of commemorate the year. I want to go over my 5 top choices in several different categories so we can kind of see what I've been loving throughout the year, what I've been using throughout the year, and just have a nice little recap before we roll into 2023. So in this video, I'm going to be going over my top 5 in the categories of my favorite mixing plugins, my favorite sound design plugins, my top 5 albums of the year, and 5 achievements that I had this year that I am super proud of and just kind of want to share with you guys as I kind of go through my journey on this YouTube channel. So with that said, we're going to dive into all of that in 1 second. But before we do, my name is Austin. You're watching Make Pop Music. We have weekly tutorials on this channel where we go over music and music production. And if you like this video and if you want to see more production tutorials, make sure you follow this page, subscribe to this page because it helps us out a ton. Comment what videos you want to see in 2023 down below. And if you like this video, please leave a like because it helps us out a ton. And if you want to head over to our website right now, we are running our end of the year sale, which means that you can save 25% off of all sample packs, preset packs, and MIDI packs. And you can save $100 off of our new course, Producer Principles 101, from right now until the end of January 2nd. So we're going to run this through the end of the year. This is going to be your Hanukkah, your Christmas, your New Year's, all of those celebrations. Go save yourself some money. Go support the channel. This will be the last sale that we run until the spring sale. So we like closing out the year to kind of give you guys a little bit of a discount, make sure we can get everybody what they want for the holiday season. And then we're going to roll into 2023 nice and strong. And we should have some new stuff coming out in the first quarter of 2023 that we are really, really excited about. Let's dive in so I can start going over my top 5s of 2022. The first category I want to go over is my top 5 mixing plugins of 2022. These weren't necessarily released in 2022, but they are 5 plugins that I find myself leaning on a lot. And we're not going to go over the ones that I talk about in every single video, so no Pro Q3, no Slate Virtual Mix Rack, nothing like that. We're going to highlight some stuff that I may have talked about on the channel, but these are just some different plugins, smaller plugins, or plugins that I think have just been absolutely necessary to my workflow. And so to kick that off, we're going to start with the Amplified Instrument Processor by Cornef Audio. I use this all the time on guitars. If you've watched any of our videos this year where we go over guitar processing, this is on the bus most of the time. Let me go ahead and solo a guitar bus so you can kind of hear what's going on. This is for kind of like a break-ins type beat that I'm working on for a future tutorial. But here is what it sounds like without the plugin whatsoever. So here's just the raw guitar with the guitar amps that we have. So a lot of the time I'm running into issues with the guitar where they are kind of thin, kind of like really nasally, and they have this like really nasty mid-range. And to be honest, this plugin is my go-to for anything guitar or honestly even vocal related to have to deal with that. And so I'm going to engage it real quick. And this plugin has several different modules. So you've got an in filter right here, high pass and low pass. You have a 4-band vintage EQ, so you can kind of just dial that in. You've got your Q settings, you've got your frequency settings, and you've got your gain settings. You have a VCA compressor over here, which I have enabled for this. You have this Cornef Audio proprietary signal processing. I find that this just kind of like warms everything up, thickens everything up, and kind of like takes away some of that nasty mid-range that I hear in guitar. And then you've got some stereo widening. This over here, though, this module, this insufferable mid-range filter, is literally like one of my favorite modules on any plugin of all time. And what this is doing is this is basically just adding really tight little EQ notches to whatever frequency that you've selected. So right now I have 2.9K, and it's going to hit that, and then it's going to hit 1 octave up from that, and I am reducing this by 14 dB. So let's go ahead and let's listen to what this guitar sounds like without, and then I'm going to engage it so you can hear how much smoother, how much more vintage, how much more kind of organic this guitar sounds. Here's without it. And then here's with it. You can hear that we've added a little bit of brightness with this top band EQ. We've taken away some of that mid-range with some of these EQs. We've added that mid-range filter. We've done a little bit of compression to kind of tighten it up. And to be honest, this AIP processor is going on pretty much every guitar bus I've done in the past year, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. And to be honest, anything from Cornef Audio. The second mixing plugin that I've used a lot in 2022 is this Weiss de-esser. This is from Softtube. And to be honest, the Weiss mastering suite is kind of an industry standard. I don't have the entire mastering bundle, but I have heard great things about this de-esser. And ever since I've started using it, it's kind of been my favorite. So right now I'm just using it on some of these background vocals. Been trying to find some help. Always nauseous, feel like hell. And I find that you can get pretty aggressive with de-essing on this before it starts getting lispy. So the way that this de-esser works is not super uncommon. I mean, over here, you've got your A and your B control, you've got your mid side, but then you've basically got two different de-essing bands that you can do. So I like to stage my de-essing, so I'll do one for like SH and one for like ES. And to be honest, I can do that all with one insert now on this. So the way it works is, for instance, I've got this mid-range right here, so I can turn it on and off. And I'm just doing a band pass, and what I'm doing is setting the threshold right here. So this kind of lets you know when you're going to engage that. And then your range is going to tell it how much it's going to reduce that S sound. And then I have a just kind of like high shelf band up here that's kind of just doing my general DS. So this is kind of taking away that SH, that sh. And then this is kind of just softening up all of my sibilants throughout the entire top end of the vocal. And you can monitor them, which is really nice, so you can kind of hear where they're hitting. So here is this first band. Been trying to find some help, always nauseous. So you can hear it kind of coming in on the sh. I've only got one of the vocals pulled up right now, but you can still hear what's going on, and then we can kind of monitor this top end as well. And inside the mix, it really does a ton of work to soften up vocals. This is by far my favorite de-esser by a long shot. So ever since I downloaded this, I haven't really used much else. We haven't even used this on the channel a ton because this is a newer plugin for me. But this will probably be the only de-esser that I use throughout 2023. So go check that out if you're looking for something to kind of lighten up your vocals and soften up some of those sibilance issues that you may be having. We're going to stay on those vocals to show you my third plugin of the year, and it is Sooth 2. You've probably seen me talk about this and every other YouTube channel talk about Sooth 2, but I had to mention it because, to be honest, especially if I'm getting vocals from clients that are tracking in, unideal environments, or they might be using cheaper microphones, this has saved so many mixes and productions for me over the past year. I've got this preset right here, this harsh Vox start, that is just on this vocal bus where I've got all of those falsetto vocals we were just doing. And to be honest, this is doing everything to kind of eliminate that cheap kind of mid-high top range, because I tracked all of those on an SM7B because I was just kind of writing a demo. And to be honest, I felt like it would be a really good example to show you for this video. So I haven't gone in and retracked vocals for the final, and I kind of wanted to show you what this can actually do to make a vocal sit a little bit better and just sound a little bit more expensive in your mix. So here it is without it. Here is the vocal bus. It's got 4 falsetto vocals stacked on top of each other. Been trying to find some help, always nauseous, feel like. Let's go ahead and engage it so you can hear it. Been trying to find some help, always nauseous, feel like hell. I've been searching for salvation in the wrong places. No. So again, we're kind of taming a lot of that like high mid. That's an area in my voice that kind of becomes an issue a lot of the time. So if you can tame that, it will make your vocal sit a lot better in your mix. It will make everything sound a little bit more expensive, and it will make a cheaper microphone sound like it actually fits any voice a little bit better. So if you don't have Sooth 2 and you find issues with, mid-range or really sibilant top end or that kind of like harsh nasally frequency, Sooth 2 is the easiest thing to get rid of most of that. So let's move on to the next plugin. The next plugin I want to talk about is this Muse EQ Master Bus version. This is from Alicia. This is in the Plugin Alliance bundle, and I actually used this on a video where I talked about how to get wider masters maybe a month or two ago. And ever since then, I've gotten a lot of questions about this, why I use it, how I'm using it. This is basically just to add some mid-side EQ to whatever master I'm doing. And to be honest, it goes a long way. This has been huge in kind of making my mixes feel a little bit wider, kind of opening up that mid-range to where I can have nice kind of consistent low end in the middle. And then my sides can be really kind of mid and top heavy, but everything still feels glued and cohesive. So let me show you what this sounds like. But before I do that, you've got your mid module over here. So this is all going to EQ the middle of the stereo spectrum. And then you've got your side module over here. So this is going to EQ basically the sides of your spectrum. You can also turn it to left-right mode if you want to start doing, like a split EQ kind of thing where you're EQing the left side differently than the right. But right now we're going to use this on warm side. And right here, you've got your side and your mid gains. So I can turn my entire mid down a little bit. I can turn my entire side down a little bit. And this is kind of a preset that I've started with. It's something I've just kind of dialed in. And to be honest, it's pretty good for most mixes. Sometimes I just need to do a little bit of finessing. So let's go ahead and let's pull this up so you can hear it. Here is without it. Sounds great. Let's add it so you can hear just how much kind of extra width and extra tightness this adds though. It really helps that guitar kind of sit out of the mix, especially if you have a mix with vocals. This will kind of get your vocals to sit in their own area where it still feels cohesive with the mix, but you can definitely feel, okay, here are my drums, here's my bass, here's my guitar, here's my vocals, and adding a little bit of that mid-side EQ with something like that Music EQ has just been a really, really cool workflow thing that I've incorporated over the past year, and it's a plugin that I'm finding myself go to almost every single day. All right, the last mixing plugin that I want to talk about is Knock. This is by Decap. I've talked about this before on the channel a few times, I think, actually. This is basically just a multi-processing tool for specifically kick drums, but you can use it on a lot. I use it on snares, I've used it on percussion loops, I've used it on really plucky synths, but basically the way this works is you've got 5 modules. You've got Punch, which is going to add like some really fast compression that will kind of just add a little bit of kick to something. You've got Saturate, so you've got 3 different saturation modes, and that's just going to add a little bit of distortion or saturation depending on, how hard you drive this. You have a sub mode where you can add this extra sub tail. I'm not going to do that on this kick. You've also got Air, where you can add a little bit of just kind of bright top end. So this is going to be like high shelf EQ with either a vintage or a clean mode. And then where I really, really love this plugin is the clipper right here. So you can turn any of these modules on and off simply by clicking it, and then you can kind of adjust what you want to do for that. Other than that, in this plugin, you've got basically some bandpass EQ at the bottom. You've got a tone shaping knob. You've got a gain match knob, and you've got a dry and a wet slider. So other than that, it's a really simple plugin. The interface is beautiful, super easy to use. And to be honest, this has been kind of just like a game changer for getting a kick to just hit in the mix. Here's what it sounds like without it. Let me show you in solo first. So it's a cool kick. It's like this hyper pop, super distorted, super punchy kick already. But I want to add a little bit of punch because I want that transient to be a little bit sharper, and I don't want it to be so kind of tubby. I'm going to saturate it a little bit more just to kind of fill out some of those mids. I'm going to add a little bit of clipper, and then I'm going to just shelf off some of that top end because it's a little bit distorted and messy. And you can hear how much tighter that transient is now, and especially in a dense mix where you've got a really big 808, you've got a lot of other stuff happening, you've got these guitars going crazy. This can be really nice to just kind of like sync everything in a little bit. Let's move on to my favorite sound design plugins. These are plugins that I'm using to just add a little bit of extra sauce. They're not going to be things like EQs or compressors or saturation or anything like that. These are going to be things that are either going to add space or time or completely change the texture of a sound. And to start off, I want to start with Spaced Out. This is by Baby Audio. I've talked a lot about Baby Audio on the channel. I've been using all of their plugins all year. And to be honest, they're all super, super, super good. And Spaced Out has been one of my favorites. This is basically a delay and a reverb combo where you've got a delay module over here and a reverb module over here. And you can kind of change this to where if you want your straight delay, your dotted delay, your triplet delay, or your 2-time delay where it'll kind of just like double the tempo that your project is. And then what's really cool is you can kind of just pop this in. So these are basically quarter notes. So if you want a delay every single quarter note, you can pop them in. You can hit it twice and that'll make them a little bit less audible. And then you can just turn separate ones off. So you can really dial in some really kind of crazy delay patterns over here. And then other than that, you've got a dimension knob, which is going to add like that chorusy kind of Roland styled wide dimension. And then you've got your texture over here. So you've got your clean, your tape, your lo-fi, and your hazy. Then you've also got reverse. This can be super cool for sound design. You've got a low pass and a high pass filter over here. And then you've got obviously your sustain and your feedback over here. And then on the other side, you have a small space, a medium space, an outer space, and a vacuum reverb. And you can kind of just dial these in on length and cosmic. And cosmic is kind of going to be like this really shimmery, weird, kind of like ethereal sound. And you can get some pretty insane delays and reverbs with this. I find this really cool for things like delay throws on vocals. I love using this on guitar. And to be honest, this is just such a cool sound design element. So let me just pop in a preset for you. And then you've got your kind of XY right here for your dry wet. So you've got your dry wet for echo / delay over here, your dry wet for reverb over here. And then you can go 100% wet. That's going to be both modules, or 100% dry. And that's neither module. So let's just punch this in. Let's go to a different preset. So as you can hear, this is a really cool thing to just add depth, space, time, and a bit of dimension to whatever you're using it on. Spaced Out is one of the cooler plugins that I've been using this year. It's super affordable, and honestly, pretty much anything from Baby Audio is going to be absolutely fire. So definitely go check that one out. Second, I just have to talk about it. I know we've talked about it a lot on the channel. RC20 goes on literally everything that I produce in some way or another. I just find this to add immediate vibe. You've got your wobble right here that's going to add like that pitch shifting. You've got distortion, which I love the tube air to kind of just add a little bit of like saturation to pretty much anything. I use the digital a lot because I love using Bit Crush just to add elements and kind of make things poke out of a mix. You've got your space, which is just like a pretty solid reverb. And then you've got your magnetic, which is going to do like some wow and some flutter and things like that to kind of give you some like these like weird textural audio dropouts. And then other than that, I love the high pass and the low pass filter in this. And it's just such an easy plugin to use. So I've got it on that guitar bus right now. Just love it for adding texture to anything. This is a pretty subtle use right here, but you can get kind of gnarly with it. I don't want to spend a ton of time on RC20 because we've talked about it a bunch and a ton of other channels have talked about it. But let's go on to something that might be a little bit more interesting, and that is Digitalis. This is a new pickup for me, but Digitalis by Aberrant DSP is such a cool kind of weird plugin. I know the kind of GUI is really gnarly. It looks like an early kind of 90s or 2000s computer. But to be honest, I have found that this is so cool for adding glitch effects to stuff. I really, really like the corruption where you can add like some decimation and bit crushing. I like that you can kind of like paint in and add different data rates and syncs and things like that. It's got a pitch module over here. And there are a ton of really cool uses for this. So right now, I have this on, it's basically just a rhythmic setting called Crush Sequence nope, right here, Crush Sequence. And I've just changed some of the stuff. So I have just dialed in the pitch and I've turned back the mix and I'm kind of automating this throughout. So let's take a listen to what this is doing for the mix. This is really cool if you're doing any kind of like hyper pop or anything that's got like weird kind of effects. So right here, this is completely dry. We're not using it at all. You're going to see it automate in 100%, and then we're going to use it throughout the verse. So this is basically doing some time-based distortion, some time-based bit crushing, some time-based pitch shifting. I could actually turn all of this up. I could shift this up like a whole octave. So if I go right here to pitch bend. This is just such a cool plugin to add a little bit of movement and texture to pretty much anything. You can also use it a lot more subtly. Like, let me open up another one so you can kind of see how different this plugin can kind of be. I also used it the other day to kind of do like a degradation. So I wanted something to sound like I had bounced out an MP3 like 45 times. So I just did something like this, like YouTube to MP3, and it just adds quite a bit of different texture. It's just such a cool thing to add a little bit of extra texture, especially if you're doing lo-fi, if you're doing hyperpop, if you're doing anything where you kind of want some bit crushing, some like lossy files, or some kind of like glitchy distortion elements. Digitalis is amazing. It's super affordable, and I can't recommend it enough. The fourth plugin I want to talk about for sound design is the Corey Wong amp from Neural DSP. I use this all the time. I used it all throughout our course. I used it all throughout a bunch of tutorials this year. It's basically just a guitar amp plugin. You've got 4 different stomp boxes right here. You've got Postal Service, which is like an envelope that's kind of going to open and close like a automatic wah pedal. You do have a wah pedal over here. Then you've got a compressor, a tube screamer, and a overdrive. And then other than that, you have your DI amp right here. You have a clean machine right here, and you have an amp knob right here. So this is going to be like a funk DI tone. This is going to be kind of like your traditional, pop kind of combo head. And then you've got your amp knob, which is going to be something kind of like into the AC or into the kind of like light orange cabinet where you're going to get a little bit of crunch and distortion. Other than that, you've just got some EQ right here. You've got your cab setting, so you can swap between microphones. You can change mic positions. And then other than that, this is really where this plugin shines. I'm not using it on this specific song, but the 80s pedal right here is like my favorite chorus for guitar ever. The delay sounds great, and the shimmer reverb sounds great. You've got shimmer engaged and off. And to be honest, this is like the only pop guitar plugin you'll probably ever need. I use it all the time. I have no affiliation with Neural DSP whatsoever, but this is by far the best for crafting really any kind of pop guitar tone, from Charlie Puth to the 1975 to Knightley to Joan. Anything that you might want that's going to have like clean kind of Fender Stratocaster, Fender Telecaster guitar, Corey Wong Archetype is going to be like the best plugin. There's a bunch of walkthroughs on YouTube. Go check those out. But I had to include that because I use it almost every day. The fifth plugin that I want to talk about for sound design is this H3000 from Eventide. I use a lot of Eventide stuff, but this to me is kind of like their flagship multi-effects processor that they've made. And I know that the hardware unit is like super sought after. And to be honest, there are tons and tons of insane presets in here. So you could kind of dive into this plugin and just swap through presets and never really learn the layout. It is a super, super complicated plugin because you've got like all of these different kind of patch cables, and you've got like modular capabilities, you've got time-based effects, you've got harmonizer effects. So if you do want to download this, I highly suggest spending a couple hours diving in, looking at every single knob, because this plugin can do insane stuff. It can do everything from like slap delays to chorus effects to glitch effects, pitch shift effects, all kinds of insane stuff. So the H3000 is a really, really, really wild plugin. We're using it pretty subtly in this song. I've got this kind of like flanger on this guitar. Here's without it. So you can hear that example is kind of doing a little bit of delay, a little bit of pitch shifting, and it's doing a little bit of kind of like chorus and phaser. We've got it on the other guitar as well. And on this one, we're just doing like a flanger. Here's without. I just love this for adding any kind of like modulation, time-based effects, anything that I might want to make a sound a little bit more important or a little bit special, or just kind of take it out of your standard, EQ, reverb, delay, saturation. H3000 can do pretty much all of that. Like I said, it is a super complicated plugin. It can do a million different things. So if you download that, spend time, learn it, watch a bunch of walkthrough videos, read the manual, because that is like one of the best multi-effects processors of all time. So there are my 5 favorite mixing and my 5 favorite processing or sound design plugins. Let's go into my 5 favorite albums of the year. So if you were just looking for production stuff, that's pretty much over. Now we're going to get into my actual personal stuff. This will go a lot quicker, but my number 1 album of the year, these are in no particular order. None of this video is in any particular order, but one of my favorite albums of the year was Harry's House by Harry Styles. Gorgeous album, beautiful pop album, perfect start to finish. My wife and I flew to LA to see the concert. The actual tour was amazing. So Harry's House by Harry Styles. We did a video where we kind of break down that production style, so go check that out. The other album that I was really into this year was Hypochondriac by Preamps. It's a brand new album, so I've been listening to it a lot over the past week or 2 weeks. And then the beat that we've actually been showing throughout this entire video is Preamps inspired. So if you like that like hip hop meets pop meets hyper pop meets electronic, go check that out. It's a super cool album. Preamps is like a really young producer, produces everything himself. The actual instrumentals are insane. Production's crazy. So go check that one out. The third album I want to mention is In Loving Memory by Black Bear. Black Bear went back to his pop punk roots and did a pop punk album. We've covered that on the channel as well this year. I really, really loved it as a kid coming from pop punk, and as somebody who currently loves Black Bear, that had to make it into my list. I love that album. It was really, really, really good. Number 4 is going to be Midnights by Taylor Swift. This is one that I didn't love at first, but it really, really grew on me. And I think just with like me and my wife listening to it all the time while we were cooking or doing, housework or just chilling, honestly, Midnights has become a really, really, really good album. We've also done a production in that style on the channel. So if you want to see me make a Taylor Swift song, go check that one out. It's an insane album. It will grow on you if you didn't love it from the first listen. And my 5th album of the year is going to be Conditions of a Punk by Half Alive. We actually saw Half Alive for the first time earlier this year. Miranda and I were not familiar with the band whatsoever. We actually went to hang out with our friend Riley, who was their tour manager at the time, and we were blown away. We loved the entire Half Alive set, so we went and we listened to their EP. We listened to their last album, and then a few weeks ago when they dropped their second studio album, Conditions of a Punk, I listened to it. It's a super, super, super great pop album. Production's insane. It's not like your kind of cookie cutter pop that you might be used to. So if you're looking for pop music that's kind of got an indie vibe and it's got a lot of these different kind of influences and production styles, go check that out because they do an incredible job. We haven't done anything like them on the channel, but let us know if you want to see something like that. I'll see what we can do about that. And then other than that, I do have an honorable mention, and that's going to be City of Angels by Riley. I couldn't put it in my top 5, though, because I produced most of the album, and that felt kind of biased to me, but I worked a lot this year with Riley on his album City of Angels. So if you're kind of into dark pop or into 80s inspired pop, go check that one out as well, because we put a lot of work into that as well as all the other producers. And that album is also amazing. And then to close this video out, I just want to talk about my 5 highlights of the year, 5 things that I accomplished this year or that Make Pop Music accomplish this year that I'm just really, really proud of. And number 1 is going to be that we launched a podcast. We've been asked to do a podcast now for years. We finally did one. So if you ever want to hear a podcast on pop music, go listen to the Sound Table. We have 10 episodes out right now, and we have a bunch more that are scheduled to come out very, very soon. We took a little bit of a break through the holidays, but we will have more coming out at the start of the year. So definitely go check out our podcast. I'm super excited that Miranda and I were finally able to start that and do it. I've really, really enjoyed doing it. Number 2 is going to be that I got to do a song for Cubase 12 when Cubase was announced. I got to make a song that is actually the official demo. So when you download Cubase, you can download that demo project. I used all stock plugins, all stock sounds. I actually did a small series on the Cubase YouTube channel where I break the production down. And that song has been kind of the lead song for all of their ads and for all of their campaigns for Cubase 12. So for me to have the opportunity to, do a project for Cubase where that's the first thing that anybody who downloads Cubase is going to see. That was insane to me because there are only 2 demo projects and I got to be one of those. And to me, as somebody who's used Cubase for my entire professional career, that just felt insane. And to be honest, I was super humbled by it. I feel so grateful to know the Cubase team and to be able to do that. So if you use Cubase 12 and you haven't done it already, go check out the demo project that I did for Cubase 12 because it's honestly kind of insane, especially using all stock plugins and all stock sounds. Number 3 is going to be that we rolled out our brand new course over Black Friday called Producer Principles 101. We've been asked for years to do a start to finish production course. And to be honest, we've always put it off because it is just a ton of work. But this year we finally did it. So we have a 14.5-hour, 76-part course where I go over my entire production process from start to finish. I cover writing invoices, contracts. I cover handling client communication. We do a song from start to finish in real time. We have a private Discord group. It came with a ton of downloads. And to be honest, it was a ton of work and it was pretty terrifying to lay out my whole process on video. But the course has had amazing feedback. It's been out for about a month. We have some follow-up content coming for that. And right now, since we are running a sale on our website, the course is $100 off. So if you do want to check that out, go check it out this week before the year ends because you can save $100 on it. And I'm just really proud that we actually did it. The 4th thing that I'm really excited about that I did in 2022 was I actually flew to LA to collaborate with Jonathan Morrison and Nico. Jonathan is a producer and a YouTuber out there. He runs a tech YouTube channel, but he's also been getting into producing, mixing in Atmos, and he flew me out there to work with an artist that he works with a lot. It's a duo named Nico, and together we all kind of made the track for Apogee's new interface, the Boom interface, and it got used in all of their ad campaigns. It was really fun flying out to LA for just a really specific project. It was my first time ever really like traveling out and doing sessions out somewhere that I'm not very comfortable with. So it was a really cool learning experience. I got to see California, which was really, really nice. I got to meet a lot of really cool people. I got to have another song used by another professional audio company in an ad this year. And to be honest, it was just a really cool experience to collaborate with people that I'd never met in person. I've worked with Jonathan in the past, but I'd never worked with Nico, and I'd never worked with Apogee or anybody like that, but we had such a good time. The studio session was such a vibe. We knocked the entire song out in like 3-4 hours. And to be honest, it was just such a fun trip, and it was the first time I did anything like that, and I hope to do a lot more of that in 2023. So I had to put it on the list. So Jonathan, if you see this, Nico, if you see this, Apogee, if you see this, thanks for that. I had a really good time doing it. And then the 5th thing that was amazing this year is I just got to meet so many cool artists. This year, more so than any other year in my past, I got to kind of connect with so many artists that I've loved and looked up to for a really, really long time. Artists that I've had on my phone for years, artists that I've been listening to. And somehow, just over the past year, I've met more and more of them. I found them through YouTube or through Instagram or through Facebook. And I've made so many cool friends in the industry over the past year. And some of that has led to projects that I've collaborated on, which has been cool. But even more so than that, I've just made a lot of really cool friendships. We've had a lot of them on our podcast. I've kind of connected with them. I've hung out with them. Like I said, I've collaborated with some of them. And it's just really cool to get to kind of like meet artists that I've known about for years, but I haven't necessarily known face to face. And it was just something really cool that kind of happened throughout the year. It's kind of weird how it works of like, once you meet one person, you'll meet 2 people, then you meet 5 people, then you meet 10 people. So within a couple months span earlier this year, I met probably a dozen different artists or producers that I've just looked up to for a really long time. And to me, it was really validating to kind of hear that they either like the channel or they like my productions or they just, like my content online. And it was just, again, really cool. This year has just been filled with so many like surprising, humbling opportunities where I've got to work with brands that I've loved for a long time. I've got to work with artists that I've loved for a long time. I've got to make new friends in the industry. And to be honest, 2022 was a really good year for that. So I'm hoping 2023 brings more of that. Hopefully you like this video. I know this is a little bit different than our usual style, but definitely go check out some of those plugins we talked about, because those are plugins that I'm using all the time. I'm not getting paid to promote any of those. I just legitimately love them. I bought most of those with my own money. There might be a couple that the company sent to me to try out, but either way, I would buy all of those with my own money 10 times out of 10. And then other than that, if you like this video, please make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. We really, really appreciate it. Let us know what videos you want to see in 2023. And then other than that, head over to our website, makepopmusic.com, where you can shop our sale right now. You can save 25% on all sample packs, preset packs, and MIDI packs. And you can save $100 on the course from now until the end of Monday, January 2nd. But that's going to do it for this video. We'll see you guys next week with more content. Much love. Peace.